here is our host, Tian Wei.
Hello and welcome to the Frontline Virtual Town Hall, My Quarantine Story, a World Insight special production on COVID-19. I'm Tian Wei. As China enters the next stage of its long-term fight against COVID-19, imported cases have become the crux of matter. A key countermeasure is a 14-day mandatory quarantine for all people who entered the country. So how does the process work? What is quarantine life like in China? Today, we are joined by a group of young people from around the world, and they are now all in China. They are going to tell us what they have experienced during the past couple of weeks during their days of quarantine. Let's meet them. Han Yiyan, she is an operations analyst who's back from Switzerland and has quarantined in Beijing. Deng Qing, a junior student in New York University Shanghai campus. She has just come back from New York. Li Yinuo, freshman in Cornell University majoring in psychology. Qian Anpei, a master's student of economic and social history in Oriel College of Oxford University. Cynthia Liu, a supply chain specialist of a 5G company in the US. Laura Zhang, a senior software engineer working in Silicon Valley. And Xiong Ziyan, a fashion designer, also from China. So good to have all of you with us. Meanwhile, I want you to come to us through various means into our discussion. You're watching the front line, our virtual town hall. You can certainly looking at our live stream right now, and also watching the live streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and Sina Weibo. We would very much like to hear from you, get your opinions, and also get your questions if you want to interact with our interviewees. Certainly post your questions and your comments to all of us. I'm gonna read through my mobile phone later when I get it. Thank you. So let me get back to our discussion. First of all, I'm so glad to be joined by two of them who are right now in Wuhan, Laurie Zhang and Cynthia Liu. Laurie, if I can, I want to ask you to help us understand from April the 8th, when the ban of the quarantine has been lifted of the city of Wuhan, what has happened? I know you have something to show to us, right, Laurie?
Yeah. Yeah, on April 8th, actually before April 8th, the news has already come out that Wuhan lockdown will be lifted. And I received so many messages from friends all over the world, especially from the US, because I work and live over there. And so many people are so concerned about what it is like for Wuhan lockdown to be lifted, because this is the first place that has been hit by the coronavirus. And a lot of people want to know how life will be after the lockdown. And I took some video on that day as the lockdown was lifted, and I was able to get out from my apartment building and I walk on the street and to see how was it like. Because previously, I also took a chance to walk out on the street, and my home actually located in the center of Wuhan.
I see.
Near the Yanghan. Sorry?
Okay. So let's take a look at what you have filmed right after the lockdown came to an end. Take a look.
Today is April 8th. It's the first day that Wuhan lockdown started to be lifted. And now I'm gonna get ready to go out. Okay, so now my temperature is normal and out. The buses are running, the light rail is running now. There's a lot more buses running, but you can still see there are people wearing, I don't know, is that a shower cap? Or, you know, the things you put on your shoes. Most of the shops are still closed, and all the clothes are wrapped. Here is another mall. I'm gonna try again to see if I can enter over here. Alright, I got in here. There's not too many people inside. Still selling some winter clothes over here. I guess this brand doesn't get a chance to restock for spring, because it's pretty hot already and they're still selling jackets.
Interesting. So a lot of shopping already going on. I see, Laurie. But what was it like for you to finally to walk out of your house and be able to see what's going on in the rest of the city?
Right. Yeah. So to be honest, I still feel scared the first time that went out because I haven't go out for 76 days. That's how Wuhan lockdown lasted. And I still feel a little bit self-conscious and trying to keep a distance from people. But I think it takes time for us to recover from that psychological state. And it really takes time to recover from that situation to gradually resume to normal life.
Right. Quarantine 76 days. So compared to that, the rest of you, if we could take a look at some of you over there, compared to Laurie, it would be much easier job in a way, huh? So may I go to Anpei? Tell me more about your quarantine days compared to maybe Laurie's.
Yeah, it's much easier and less mandatory. So my quarantine days basically started when the first case was confirmed in the university. He is a student who came back from Eastern Asia, I think, and the school sent out a very calming email saying, everybody, don't worry, he has been quarantined since he's developed symptoms, but really, he participated in a lot of activities before then. He sang in the choir, and which resulted in several of my classmates getting infected, and one of whom actually had contact with. So I was really scared at the time. So basically, I stayed in home for a good 2 weeks to make sure, okay, I haven't got this, and it's safe to actually go out again.
Let's take a look at one of your photos. If our producer had prepared that. You in certain kinds of quarantine costume. Take a look.
Yeah, that photo is actually when I finally decided to fly back to China.
There we go.
Yeah, and apparently that's just standard gear for everybody to be wearing that.
Yeah.
Goggles, hazmat suit, whatever that is, and gloves and masks.
What was it like for you to imagine, even on the plane, about weeks of quarantine days ahead once you enter China?
Well, basically, I've already gone through that in school. So the difference is that really I don't have to cook by myself. I have my own shower, and I have people delivering me my food, and which is kind of nice. And I'm very grateful for the staff who have been dedicating themselves and actually endangering themselves in a way for that to that.
Were you quarantined in Beijing, or were you quarantined elsewhere? You quarantined at home, right?
Yeah, so my flight went from Heathrow in London to Tokyo and then to Shanghai.
Got it.
At which place I was picked up and then transferred to Hangzhou, where my family is. So that's where I was quarantined.
I see. So maybe that was more of the early days, and later people were quarantined not necessarily at home, but rather in some specific hotels destined by the officials. So let me ask about that to Coco Dengqing. You came back from the United States, and then you have to fly to Beijing via Tianjin, but you did your quarantine actually in Tianjin, even though your hometown is Beijing, right? Because of the policy that anyone coming into Beijing will be quarantined elsewhere. So tell me more about your experience.
Right. So the reason why I got quarantined in Tianjin is not because that's my first landing spot, but rather because there is a guy 1 row in front of me during the flight was having a fever when we were landing in Tianjin. So we were all marked as a close contact to him. So that's why we have to get quarantined locally. And during the quarantine days, 14 days, I really didn't feel much affected by the quarantine situation because the hotel is pretty nice and the food there is pretty nice. I got put on a little bit weight during the quarantine life. Yes, and the shower, the laundry, pretty good.
Well, it sounds like a vacation, but to some of the other media reports I've been reading, it's not necessarily that easy life when doing the quarantine, because you're supposed to stay in your own small apartment, and of course, not walking out, but people were going to provide you with the food and also with daily necessities. I wonder what is it like for Yino and Han Yiran? Maybe Yiran, you want to tell me more about yours?
Yes, so basically I flew back from Switzerland on, I think, March 19th. I think that's basically when I arrived Beijing, that's the first or second day that the government decided everyone has to stay in the hotel. So I think I was the first group of people that we had to stay in the hotel, and they sent us to a hotel where our home is located. But I think the hotel was really spacious and nice. I didn't really expect the good quality. And also with really the frontline workers there, they are very professional. So at the moment I landed in China, I feel like I'm really much more secure and safe, because in Europe, when you see people, no one is wearing masks and no one is wearing anything, even on the flight when I flew from Zurich to Osaka. So the flight attendant only wear masks and nothing else. So I was really worried. But when I entered China and in the hotel, I feel everything was taken care of. So I don't need to worry about anything. So.
Yiran, let me ask you about this. Since you were one of the first few batches that were told at the time to be quarantined, not at home, but rather in hotels.
Yes.
What was the process like? So when you got off from the plane, so what are the procedures and how were you guided? Will you be able to choose your own hotels? And what about the food and daily routine? And what if you want to contact home? All of these issues. Tell me more about that.
Okay, sure. So when we landed at the airport, so first we need to wait in the airplane to be called one by one to get off. I remember I have waited almost 4 hours on the plane, but I think that's a really strict procedure to get everyone one by one off and get tested at the airport. And then we took the bus to I think we are shipped to the exhibition center.
Did you know your test results, negative or positive at that time?
No, actually, at the airport, they didn't do any throat swabs or anything. They just check you, have you been to these countries recently or have contacted to suspicious people. If you say no, they let you pass. So, and then when we arrived this exhibition center in Shunyi, so basically they will, so each, I think in Beijing, 16 districts. So you need to find your own district, and then they send their own car to the hotel. So basically, I'm from Shijingshan district, and there's no options for the hotel, but I think it's already really good. So basically, I think my district is quite small, so there were only 4 people on the same car with me. So when I landed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how were you shipped to the hotel?
Yes, there was like a small bus, and there are like one driver and one, I think it is a police. So he's taking care of every procedure, and then, every second you are being watched. So this you feel either very safe or very strict. So and then when we arrived at the hotel, there are like all the people standing in front of the door and picking up your luggage, get disinfected, and everything was really strictly checked.
Yeah. How would you be able to contact your family once you arrive?
Yes, basically the phone is no problem. The internet is always good. But in our hotel, we were not allowed to order food or ask the parents to send any stuff for us, because I think that would increase a lot of workload to the frontline workers. So, but I think that's very reasonable.
So you're not going to order takeout, but rather they provide you with the standard food that they provide to everybody.
Yes. I would say the standard was really good, like food quality. So
really? What did you have? What is the best food, the best dish you have over there in that hotel?
I think every day we have, I think, 2 either meat or fish and 2 vegetable sides. So basically you have a lot of options, and you have also milk, dairy food, and also sometimes Coke and fruits. They give a lot of fruits. I couldn't really eat it every day, so
I see.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I see. Vitamin, though, it's very important. What about for you, Yino?
Like my quarantine period?
Yes.
So actually, I came to Beijing just one day before the policy where people had to go to the hotel. So I was also quarantined at home, and it was an empty home. So my parents weren't there. It was just me, myself. And so it was actually quite boring. And also I didn't know how to cook. So I had to learn how to cook for myself. And the compound that I stayed at was actually pretty strict. So we could only order food and delivery like twice per week. So basically I just had to um like do my hobbies, like play the guitar and like sing. There wasn't much to do. And then at the end of the 14 days, I was really bored. So I really wanted to get out of quarantine.
I'm sure you are quite a singer and guitar player already today, after 2 weeks of quarantine, only playing guitar. So tell me more about how your daily necessities are being ordered. So you can provide your neighborhood committee with the things that you want, and they would bring it to your door. Is that how it works? And how would they make sure you're going to stay at home, not walking out? I mean, you, no problem, but maybe some people are not, that responsible. They might want to walk out at any moment they want. So how do they make sure that all the people that are supposed to be quarantined are really being quarantined?
So before I went to the place I was quarantined at, I had to sign up and tell them my personal details and room number. So they would stick like a poster on top of my door, so I couldn't open it from the inside. And also they put a metal lock on my door so I couldn't open it. And whenever I ordered delivery, they would take the delivery, they would knock on my door and tell me to take my delivery.
Okay. So it seems that various neighborhood and also various communities have their own policies. Yours is really a strict one. So what was it like after 14 days playing guitar and singing the best song you could, and cooking also, to come out of the room, knowing yourself is healthy and you can also interact with your family? What is it like?
I mean, I was really relieved, and I just really wanted to get out of quarantine. So as soon as I got home, I just went outside. I went to the parks, of course, wearing masks. And I felt like it was so good to be able to go to restaurants and make sure that you are healthy yourself and your family is with you.
Are the flowers nice on that day?
Yeah.
Extremely, right? They're the most beautiful flowers we've ever seen in our life. Thank you very much for your sharing of the story. Let me go to you also, Cynthia. Cynthia, you are in Wuhan together with Ziyan, also in Wuhan. Both of you were participating in helping the city when it was being quarantined. So tell me more about that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Yes, I was doing the volunteer work when I was staying quarantine at home, because my community, the majority people living in my community are the elders. So I'm one of the few people, the young people in the community. So therefore, I decided to volunteer myself to help people around. The majority work for me is to helping people with the group purchasing, because Wuhan, as we are required to stay home for quarantine, people are not allowed to go outside, and then buying food is most troublesome. Is most troublesome thing. So we're helping people. Where basically everyone inside the community cannot go out, and we have to order food by group. We have limited choices. Yeah, we have limited choices. The food that we're having, I don't think is as good as the meals that you are having during your quarantine. We only got some vegetables, limited meat. There was no seafood, no fish at all. So we got to eat whatever delivered. And what I was helping was trying to get the food received from the vendor at the front gate of the community, and then I count the food, sort it, and then distribute to our neighborhood.
I see. Are the food free of charge, or you need to pay? What kind of how much you need to pay for different portions?
So the groceries, they are not free of charge. We have to pay, and we have to pay the full price, but they are a reasonable price. They're pretty reasonable, just the same as usual, I would say. And there's also some free food from government, from the community, from the other city who donated the groceries to Wuhan. So we got some free groceries as well.
I understand you were working earlier in the United States. You came to Wuhan because that's your hometown to spend the Spring Festival, which is, of course, China's Lunar New Year. But because of the COVID-19, you will not be able to leave and became a volunteer. So let's take a look at this footage and see how you did your volunteer work during your stay in Wuhan. And I guess you're still there. Take a look.
嗨，大家好，是我 Cynthia。我现在准备出门去当志愿者，为小区拿团购的菜。然后同时我收到了我朋友寄过来的100个 N95的口罩，真的很感谢我的朋友，他们是静静姐和 Bernie 哥，非常善良的一对夫妇。我要把这100个口罩捐给我们社区的工作人员。出一趟门很复杂，首先第一件事情就是扎头发，然后我现在要去戴我的护目镜和口罩，然后穿上专门外出的衣服。I'm going to pick up group purchased groceries for our community. Meanwhile, donate masks to community office. Here is another volunteer. She and I are helping to receive, count, sort, and distribute groceries to each household. We are at the front gate waiting for our neighbors to pick up. What I'm holding on hand is a shopping list. This is pretty much the basic work for volunteers. Today is a heavy raining day. The weather is not helping at all. The last person has picked up his grocery. We're done for today's work.
So what have you done, or what have you brought home? The same proportion?
Yeah, the same proportion, just vegetables. That's it. We didn't have any seafood at all.
Oh, okay. Well, now you can, right? After 76 days of quarantine, Wuhan is open up and you can, go freely onto the street. So that's really nice. I'm going to ask you guys a little bit later about what that experience is like, just as Laurel earlier told me. Let me also go to Ziyan. You are a fashion designer, yes. And we want you to show maybe some of your, the photos of your shop, if our producer could bring that over. Okay.
Okay.
So where is this? All right. That's the shop. Got it. So how is business? I mean, after 76 days of quarantine, going back to the shop?
Actually, I haven't started my store right now because I'm still quite worried about coronavirus right now. But I heard some of the stores here in Wuhan, they have been reopened. But because my mom, who worked in hospital, so for me and my whole family, we just feel we want to take this step slow, and we want to see what happened next, maybe after 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
That's a smart choice. You want to see the very first stage after the lifting of the quarantine so that you would have a sense of what's going on inside the city. So what about your business? I mean, after almost 3 months not opening the store, how are you handling with the financial difficulties?
Actually, the rent will be free, actually, according to the news I get. That is really a good news for storekeepers as us, as me. I'm really sorry because I went back to China like 8 years ago, so maybe my English is not that.
It's good. It's good. So what do you do when you were quarantined? Do you still have staff working for the store, or they're all left for the Spring Festival break anyway? So what is your plan of your shop later?
Actually, I started my own fashion studios just after I graduated from Leeds University in Britain. And I did that for about 4 years right now. I've got 5 or 6 staffs, and they all went back to their hometowns during the Spring Festival. It is sad that I think I only have 2 left right now because some of them decided not to work in Wuhan anymore. Maybe like me, they want to
see what happened next, maybe for the next few months or a few years, because this coronavirus is really horrible.
Yeah,
and
it is.
As my mom who worked in hospital, as I heard their stories, I feel I'm the one that's blessing, because I can stay at home to be quarantined and with my family. And my mom, she is the one worked in hospital, so she is taking that society responsibilities for us, I think.
So your mom cannot come back home because she needs to be quarantined while at the same time working in the hospital, right?
Due to her age, she's nearly 60, so she's not fight in the front line. Actually, she's doing something like a backup room team. So she provides helps and collect donation goods.
I see.
Etc. So she can come back home.
I see.
And
but for many of the frontliners, they cannot. They have to stay in the hospital or in the dorms designated for them, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, please express our respect for your mom and many of her colleagues.
Thank you.
This is a part of history that we'll never forget, especially for this generation. Some say this is probably a challenge of a generation, but certainly at this stage, it seems that many Chinese have been able to come out of the initial stage of quarantine, just like every one of you have been, whether in Wuhan or elsewhere coming back into China. I want to congratulate you for that, efforts you've been making, whether it's 14 days or even 76 days. You're watching The Frontline, our special edition of World Insight dedicated for the people who have been going through the time of quarantine as a result of COVID-19. We'll be back after this. Yes, this is The Frontline, our special edition of World Insight. Today we're looking at the stories of quarantines. We've invited many from around the world. Now they are all in China after 14 days and even 76 days of quarantine, depending on where they are. I'm so glad to be joined by Qian Anpei, Xiong Ziyan. If we can take a look at their photos, yes, great. Laurie Zhang, Cynthia Liu, and Deng Qing, Han Yiyan, and Li Yinuo. Earlier in our program, we have been hearing their stories, how they've been surviving the quarantine days and the quarantine months. But later, we're going to ask them about their future plans once coming out of the quarantine and what had that experience taught them. But first, let's take a look at the COVID-19 global pandemic map. You're going to see how serious the situation still is. Coronavirus COVID-19 affecting around the world. 210 countries and territories reported the COVID-19 cases around the world approached 2 million on Monday already, doubling in 11 days. And as the World Health Organization officials caution patience before lifting social distancing restrictions. So how do we understand the situation that has never been encountered before? We earlier asked their own stories from our panelists today. Now let me go further by asking them what's their plan coming out of the quarantine. Let me go to you, Ziyan. Excuse me. Let me go to you first. Yizhan, you are now in Beijing, coming back from Switzerland. So what's your plan from now on? Are you coming back to work? Would you be able to travel back to Switzerland?
Yeah, actually, I have long time ago I have made a decision. Eventually, I would go back home to work because in Europe, I feel like it was maybe not the perfect choice of career for me. So actually, I have made my career decision already in early March. But by that time, actually, I have decided to resign from my company. But actually, by that time, the Europe didn't really start the huge burnout of the virus. But actually, after 2 weeks. I think this virus actually accelerated my decision, helped me make my decision to go back home. So I would change a country to work now and also to switch my career direction. So I think somehow it really helped me to make my kind of really important decision in my life. And of course, I will go back to Switzerland from time to time. I would say to visit my friends, maybe every half a year or so. But this year, I really don't know when I can go back. Really, it's a really serious situation there.
So the quarantine time, in a way, has helped you to make your decision at a critical time, it seems. Let me ask another one. Cynthia Liu, you also came back from the United States, stayed in Wuhan for Spring Festival, never left since then, of course, as a result of COVID-19. But, you know, besides your wonderful family life, you know, during the quarantine time, because people need to be with their family all the time. What is your plan?
Yeah, right now I'm still working from home for my company. I'm so glad that my managers, they're all really understandable and considerable about my situation. So all they were asking me is stay safe. So I'm still working for the company, and my plan is still travel back to US. But right now it seems like traveling back is also a trouble. First of all, the travel ban from President Trump is still active. Foreign nationals who have traveled to China during the past 14 days are not allowed to enter the United States. And meanwhile, the pandemic is really severe right now in the US. So my plan is to wait until the situation get a little bit eased, and then travel back to the States.
And I would assume it's very difficult to get an air ticket right now.
Oh, definitely. I checked. All the direct flights has canceled. Nothing. There's no way. Actually, there's no way for me to travel back. I have to wait and see.
We really have to wait and see. What about for you, Laurie? Also, you came back to Wuhan from the United States and spent your Spring Festival here, never left since then. What's your situation like for you?
Yeah, that is really a good question because it's actually really bothering me. For my company's policy, we cannot work from China. So I have been not working since January because I returned back to Wuhan in January. And I'm really worried that I cannot keep in contact with the things that's going on at work because my company moves really fast. And even if 1 week's out of work, a lot of things are already changed. So to mitigate that, I am still talking with my coworker because I'm actually a senior engineer and I'm supposed to be the lead for a lot of projects. And with me gone, a lot of goals cannot be hit. I'm so worried about everyone in my team, and I'm so sorry that I cannot be there with them, and they have to find someone to do my work, and I cannot give them the contacts. So I'm still talking to them like on a weekly basis or every other week and trying to provide as much knowledge as I have. But with a limited connection, there is not much I can do beyond that.
I'm very sympathetic to your situation, of course, and it's not clear when things gonna calm down, right? This is a virus that we don't know much about, and therefore, and all the policies related to it really depends on national governments. Also, let's go to some of the students participating. You know, Deng Qing, you are still a student, so are you gonna do online courses all the time? How does that work?
Right. That's a very good question because I have to take my classes during the midnight in Beijing. So in my
because you are based in New York, right?
Right, because my classes were in New York.
Yeah.
And then also it bothers me at first. At the first day of my quarantine, I realized this won't work out. I have to think of a way to get around with it. So what I did is that I chose a time zone that located in between China and the United States, which means that there's a moderate time zone that I could get some sunlight in the night and have some and take the classes during the night. Take some sunset during the day and take my classes during the night. So the time zone I chose is Moscow, and I usually go to sleep at 5 a.m. in the morning. And before that, I take my online streaming classes, and I go to sleep at 5 a.m. and then I get up at about 10 a.m. And that schedule really fits me, and I think I'm comfortable with it gradually.
Everybody has to figure out their own routine now, given the time difference we have to work these days as a result of the COVID-19. I have some questions coming from our viewers who want to interact with us. Coming from Sina Weibo, somebody called Sandra WH, who asked the question, 复工后要求做检测吗? So when you're going back to work, is it required to do the tests? Any one of you want to answer that?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Cynthia. Cynthia, go ahead.
Yes, I think so. It is required for people to get a test before they resume back to work.
Okay, and how would they get a test?
Maybe Ziyan, you want to comment on that one?
Okay, Ziyan?
Yeah. Local hospital hosts that kind of test. You can directly go to the hospital, or the hospital could. There's some of the tests you can directly go to the place you are working in. So, because my parents and husband are going to work now, so they are going to do that kind of test.
So that kind of test is available in the city of Wuhan after the lockdown. People can just go there for a service. Do you have to pay? And how much do you have to pay?
Yes, it's around 700 yuan, I think.
Okay, so it's like $100. It's not that expensive. Got it. So interesting situation. And also, Anpei?
Yeah, so Hangzhou has been issuing more tests to the citizens and also incoming personnel from Wuhan. I think they're urged to, when they get off the train, they're urged to go to the hotel, the quarantine hotel actually, to be tested, and to be quarantined, I think, for 1 day before the result comes out. And the fee is about 250 yuan. So yeah, for 2 tests, one for the serum and one for the RNA test. Yeah.
I see. Very reasonable price, certainly. Another question coming from our Facebook viewers. I don't know whether I could pronounce the name. It seems the family name is Hill, and he or she is asking, in our state, there's no positive case anymore. Is it right to lock down? Obviously, she's coming. She didn't say where he or she, which place originally coming from, but is it right to lock down? Maybe some of you who experienced the lockdown could tell us more about that. Laurie?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm assuming she's asking the question from Facebook, so I'm assuming she's in the United States or like outside of China.
Yeah.
And if she's in a place that's like without any confirmed case, I think, like from Wuhan's experience, we still continue to lock down for at least 14 days until the newly confirmed case is not appeal anymore, just to be safe, because the incubation period is 14 days. So just like 1 day, no newly confirmed case doesn't mean it's completely safe. We need to be cautious.
Yeah, the incubation time is usually 3 to 7 days, but sometimes could be as long as 14 days. So we want to play safe, therefore 14 days. And Inoa, you want to take that question too? Your thoughts about lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's better to keep it safe because I've heard on the news that there are people who have been quarantined for 14 days, but after they got out, they showed they had coronavirus after like 24 days. So actually, I think it's better that we keep it safe.
So tell me more about your plan, coming after the quarantine. You earlier told me you went to the park, but you cannot go to the park every day. So what's going to be your schedule and the studying schedule like for you? Because you're also studying in the United States, right? This is coming back. It's only for the yeah, you're also studying in the U.S. Go ahead.
Yes, so at Cornell University, we are told that the rest of this entire semester will be done online. So we will have exams and lectures online, and they would be recorded and like done on Zoom. And so for me, luckily, all my schedules are pretty well in the Chinese time zone, so I don't have to stay up really late at night. And we are still unsure whether school will open next semester, so whether we will be able to fly back to the US in August, but we'll see how it goes.
How are you doing your courses online? Are the professors really skillful with the online courses? How are you interacting with your classmates?
So with the professors, not all of them are very skillful, so there might be mistakes sometimes, but they said they're trying to learn how to use the online system. And we're also having discussions between classmates. So Cornell arranges us like Zoom discussion sessions where we get like around 10 to 15 classmates to discuss questions on certain subjects.
Is the communication similar to when you could face-to-face discussion things, or very different?
I would say it's still different because definitely the effect isn't as well as discussing face-to-face, but it's still pretty nice.
Anpei, what about for you?
Actually, fortunately, all my classes are done. So the lectures and seminars have been taught throughout the 2 semesters before, March. And since Oxford operates on a 3-term basis, we're actually still in spring break. Luckily. So for the next term, most of my stuff will be done online via direct communication between me and my supervisor. And what I'm more worried about is the sources, the limited sources I can get for my research in China. So, yeah.
The reason we want to do this special edition of Frontline, focusing on the quarantine life, has a lot to do with many of our friends and colleagues and people we know have been telling us, after 14 days, be with yourself, or after 14 and probably even longer days being with your family, not walking out of the home, or even 76 days in Wuhan's case because the city was locked down. You just feel differently about yourself and about what's important in life, amazingly. So I want to ask, the same question to every one of you about what is your takeaway when you have that long time being with yourself, being with your beloved ones, even though you might not necessarily interact with very often during ordinary days. What is it like? Anpei, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I mean, the quarantine days is kind of horrible for me because the hotel I was quarantined at was relatively poorly positioned right next to a highway, so it was truck noises 24/7. So it's very nice to actually to be in quiet space finally when I got out of it. And the one thing I never realized I would miss is that it's really sunlight. That you feel that the warmth, like the shedding on your skin, and it's the most beautiful thing ever. And then another thing is, to be honest, I think actually in-person communication. This period of quarantine and social distancing has been beneficial to a lot of the internet companies, especially Zoom. Everybody uses it now, and we're using it. But to be honest, talking to my friends over a screen, it's still no replacement for in-person communication. I would say I just went out with a friend last night for beer and barbecue, and yeah,
it tastes great.
Yeah, it does.
Already, the way you tell it.
Yeah.
So what about for you, Dengqing? What does those days mean for you?
Sorry, was that for
Dengqing?
me?
Coco?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So for me, during my quarantine time, I have a lot of free time to think about things. And one thing I realized is that I've taken a lot of things for granted. Let me take one small thing, for example. During my quarantine time, I wasn't able to touch others. So when my dad picked me up at Tianjin railway station, I gave him a hug. And at that moment, I feel my blood was flushing during all my body because I haven't touched a real person for so long. All my lectures are through internet and I cannot connect with others. And now, since I'm out of the quarantine and I'm more freedom, so I try to keep in touch with my families and my friends as much as possible. So I give as much hug, probably not so good. I give as much hug to people around me as possible, because I really think this is a very valuable thing. Hug means a lot, and you cannot do hug virtually.
Sometimes you have to right now. You can't hug too many people right now. Social distancing still required, but I certainly understand that desire to be with someone and to like feel the freedom of being throwing yourself to somebody you trust, and the same way vice versa. It's a very different feeling, particularly after quarantine. What about for you? Let me ask Cynthia, what about for you?
Yes, yeah, because I've been staying home for 76 days or more than that. I feel like I've been building really good relationships with my families, because before I can't stay peace with my mom for more than 7 days. But now we're getting along for 76 days. A huge progress.
How did you manage to do that?
No, I just felt like similar like Coco, I learned to appreciate for everything that my family did for me. My mom, she cooked my meal, and similar like Coco, I was working at night and wake up during the daytime. So they were all accommodating my schedule and helping me a lot. And meanwhile, I felt like actually I don't think that COVID-19 is a bad thing for me. I really felt grateful that I can be with my family during this hard time. I can be here to support them, to support my dad, my mom, helping them. And my dad was saying that seeing everyone sitting in the same table eating the meal makes him feel so happy. So that's the moment I felt so warm. I felt like I've been missing 7 years with them.
Yeah. And we've been showing some of the photos of your calligraphy work and Chinese painting work. Of course, you've been doing that with your family during the long, long days of quarantine time. Those are wonderful.
Yeah, because we are not allowed to go out. I need to find something to do to keep myself busy. I felt like that's a good time to develop self-interest. So therefore, I was doing some paintings. I always liked paintings, and I was filming some videos to keep myself busy. Yeah.
Great work there. Laurie.
Thank you.
What have you learned?
Oh, sorry. Is it a question for me?
Yes, Laurie, please.
Because my connection was not so good. Do you mind repeating the question again?
What is it like for you, the quarantine days for you? What have you learned through that period of time? Same question for everybody.
Right. Yeah, so during the quarantine for me and for everyone in Wuhan is very long. And to be honest, like in the beginning, I think we all experienced like we are very scared and a lot of things are out of control. And I really feel scared, like reading the news every day. And the good thing, the light comes in the darkness at the time when my friend reached out to me, all my friends from the United States, from Seattle where I live. And a lot of people know that I am stuck in Wuhan and they're so concerned. And they keep calling, like we have weekly meetings with a group of friends, and they are supporting me and telling me what's going on in Seattle. And that really brings me a lot of hope from that time. And that gradually bring me out from that scared and anxious stage. And I started to do more meaningful things and think about why I'm here, like why I'm stuck in Wuhan. Instead of just complaining, I can use myself to do more meaningful things. And I started to get connected with the community. And I also did some volunteering work and helped the elderly in our building to get groceries. And also later when Seattle was first hit by the COVID-19, I was also concerned. I started to offer them help and started to talk So the
I
table
see.
turned around and started to offer them help and give them suggestions and share with them my experience and how I get through the dark days.
Right. And what about for you, Ziyan, the fashion designer? What have you learned from that period of time? What's your plan?
Actually, I am a native Wuhan people. Wuhan people are always had bad temper. And yes, that's
you
true.
You have crispy temper, shall we put it that way? Yeah.
And during this lockdown time, everyone has been locked at home. So family members have to stay together. And I've been heard like some couples decided to divorce after the Spring Festival. But the case is they are not divorcing anymore because it's the time for family to really stay together. And actually, all my family members are really hardworking and they have real time. They have real time at home. But for this case, we all stay together and we really have some wonderful time together. So for the people in Wuhan, I think in another way, it's a good thing because we learned to go back to our families. Yeah. We learned to,
the silver lining of it. We learn more about ourselves and also who we really care about and why we should care about them. And what about for you, Ino?
For me, during my quarantine period, I just felt that we should all be really grateful when we were actually able to go out freely when there was no coronavirus. And also, I felt that it was really important for a person to develop their own hobbies and to be able to stay with themselves instead of like hustling with a lot of people. So this is why during my quarantine period, I also tried to develop interests like playing the guitar and also doing some painting and cooking.
Be able to face yourself, right, during some quiet days. Last but not least, Yizhan.
Yeah.
What about for you at that period?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yes, so actually, especially for me, I've been abroad for almost 10 years. And this time is the first time I decided to live long-term in Beijing in China. And during the 14 days quarantine, I feel like I realized a lot of people really worry about you and love you. They don't really see very often, but when this thing happened, they contact you all of a sudden. And I feel like all the past like trivial things in work, in life that I've been worried about or been struggling became so insignificant. I think now like a lot of people sacrifice their lives in this war. And I think we need to start to focus more on the people we really love and who really worry and care about you, because I think life is short. So just spend more time with your families and just ignore those not important things. You know, I think I have changed my mind a little bit. Yes. Yeah.
I think those are beautiful thoughts.
Yeah,
very inspiring. Yeah. Every one of you have been providing to all of us through the past 40 minutes. You know, a lot we need to learn, but certainly COVID-19 and its side effects have taught us a lot more about ourselves and also about our world. I hope we're going to keep all of those in mind when life comes back to normal. But I want to thank all of you for joining us and share the deep thoughts you have about your life with us. Qian Anpei, Xiong Ziyan. Let's take a look at their video now, please. Let's have them. So I want to thank all of you. Qian Anpei, Xiong Ziyan, Laurie Zhang, Cynthia Liu, Deng Qing, or known as Coco, Han Yizhan, and Li Yino. All the best to you and your beloved ones. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is all we have for our special edition, The Frontline, a virtual town hall, My Quarantine Story. Thanks for watching, and do tune in tomorrow on Wednesday, 22:15 Beijing time on CGTN World Insight. We'll air an edited version of this discussion. That's all we have for today. To find out more, you can always search World Insight CGTN into your search engine or check out our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. From me, Tian Wei, the host of the program, on behalf of everyone on the team, thanks for watching. Bye for now.